15.5 years ago, WWE bought out WCW. Now, we had all thought WCW was going to survive, that they were going to get bought out by Eric Bischoff and a partner and some financial partners and financial business partners that he had gotten together. Well, obviously, that didn't happen. WWE bought it out. And originally, WWE wanted to make it its own separate brand, its own separate entity. That, of course, didn't go the way WWE had hoped because they screwed the pooch. They screwed the pooch by putting Buff Bagwell against Booker T as the last match, the main event match of Monday Night Raw for the WCW World Title in front of a pro-WWE crowd in Tacoma, Washington. Now, true, you had some WCW fans, some people that were happy for WCW. In fact, they popped when the WCW, I guess you could say the pyro went off, and Shane McMahon's music hit and everything. But as time went on, realization hit everybody that if this is what WCW was really about, then why are we excited for them? Yeah, realization basically hit a lot of the pro WWE crowd that was actually supportive of WCW, and basically they realized if this is what we're getting from WCW, then we don't want it. Now, a lot of people like Buff Bagwell himself have gone on record and said that Vince McMahon had done that on purpose. That Vince McMahon basically wanted them to go out there in front of a pro WWE crowd instead of waiting a week later to do it in Atlanta, which would have made more sense. So, as we all know, one thing led to another, and basically WWE turned their WCW purchase and then later on their ECW purchase, which they combined together into the alliance, into nothing more than a stable. Not a company, a stable. A stable that, when you look at their win-loss record, was not the best against WWE, and in the end, the WWE basically ended up winning. Now, some will say that from a storyline perspective, when Vince McMahon had Kurt Angle spy on the Alliance as a member of the Alliance and then turn on them at Survivor Series, some might say from a storyline potentiality that it could have had, it would have shown that Vince McMahon indeed did see the Alliance, did see WCW and ECW as legitimate threats, and pretty much knew that when you have a team representing WCW, ECW, led by your champion, your WWE champion, a man that you could never win against in Stone Cold Steve Austin, from a storyline potentiality, it shows that even Vince McMahon realized, well, the Alliance, pretty much would have walked out victorious. But again, that didn't happen. But what does this have to do with TNA? Well, TNA, as you know, right now, if you haven't heard, financially is in a rut. And I mean a major rut. They are in such a rut right now that Bound for Glory may not happen in 72 hours. You heard me right. Bound for Glory, the WrestleMania, the Super Bowl, the Starrcade, their final battle for the company may not happen. That's right, it may not happen. But then again, we thought the same thing about Slammiversary, and it happened. But now, according to reports, things are a lot worse than they were at Slammiversary time. Because now, not only are reports going out that flights and matches for Impact Wrestling's tapings next week have been canceled, if you want to believe that with a grain of salt, but you even have TNA President Billy Corgan, who has a stake in the company, not a major stake, but it sounds like maybe 30% stake in the company, or just a big enough stake, if you will, stating that Even he is not sure if Bound for Glory will happen, but he's determined to make it happen. He's hoping for another miracle. Now, as far as WWE's involvement goes, reports are going around that WWE is indeed interested in the company. However, you have people like Billy Corgan and even Ric Flair, who, let's not forget, is close friends behind the scenes in real life with Paul Levesque, Triple H, and Stephanie. And even he says that WWE has no interest in buying TNA. And Billy Corgan, like I said, who has potentially about a 30% stake in the company as far as ownership goes, has heard no such thing about WWE being interested. However, he did state that if WWE is indeed interested, that there's nothing he can really do about it because there's no way he can win a bidding war against Vince McMahon. Now, to complicate this even further, according to a report by Dave Meltzer, a source close to the situation, and some people take what Dave Meltzer reports with a grain of salt, but those close to the situation have stated to Dave Meltzer that Dixie Carter herself isn't helping anything. In fact, reports are that if it comes down to it, Dixie will only be in it for herself, will only be watching out for herself, and that, let's not forget, she still has a 70% stake in the company. Now, when someone close to the situation tells someone like Dave Meltzer, again, if you want to believe anything he reports or says, that Dixie would only be looking out for herself, that kind of indicates to a lot of people that, according to this source, Dixie would be the one to sell the company to Vince McMahon without Billy Corgan knowing about it. She'd find a way to do it. Now, what's funny, though, is Dixie has gone on her Twitter and stated that she is looking forward to inducting Gail Kim into the TNA Hall of Fame at Bound for Glory this Sunday. Now, when you have someone like Dixie Carter still looking at inducting someone like Gail Kim into the Hall of Fame at their biggest event, at their WrestleMania, at their company's WrestleMania, their company's Super Bowl, Bound for Glory, then you know something's not connecting. Like the dots really aren't connecting somewhere. It's like there's some information that's missing, but we don't know what that information is. Now, Dixie Carter, like I said, has gone on Twitter and basically said, "Hey, look, it basically said that she's looking forward, as I mentioned, to inducting Gail Kim into the Hall of Fame at Bound for Glory." So it sounds like she believes Bound for Glory is still going to happen. Here's the only problem, though. Bound for Glory, it may happen, but it might end up as a one-night-only special. Yeah. Either that or Bound for Glory is going to end up on Pop TV, because that's the only way they're going to be able to air it. It will be. It'll be the only way they can air it. Because according to the reports, if they don't find a way to get Bound for Glory off the ground for this Sunday, and they don't find a way to fulfill their Impact Wrestling tapings for the next few weeks, they will be in breach of contract with the pay-per-view and TV providers. So they have to find a way. And knowing TNA, knowing Dixie Carter, and now knowing how Billy Corgan is, they will find a way. I don't know how they'll do it, but they'll find a way. Believe it or not, there's somebody out there that's going to give them an opportunity. They might have to turn to Pop TV itself and say, "Hey, we need your help." Or might have to turn, because they might even have to turn to what? CBS? Who owns Pop? Who owns TV Guide? What, CBS owns them or something? The Paramount company? Nickelodeon, Viacom? Who owns Pop? I'm just curious. Because they may have to turn to that entity there and say, "Hey, look, we need your help. We need you to back us up." They need to get a loan somewhere, and somewhere real quick. And usually TNA's history is they always find a way to get things off the ground at the last minute. So I'm not counting TNA out as far as Bound for Glory or possibly the last tapings for the rest of the year will go. I'm not counting them out in that area. I've got a feeling they're going to probably do several tapings for the next few months, starting with October 5th, all the way to maybe the first or second week in December, and then we might just end up getting a best of TNA or best of Impact thing to close it out. So that way they will have enough time within the next few weeks, the last few weeks, I should say, of 2016 to kind of find out whether or not they'll be able to continue on in 2017 or that 2016 is it. Because I know, in a sense, Dixie Carter, Billy Corgan, and any of those behind the scenes would love for TNA to hit its 15th year and show the world that, hey, we've been here for 15 years. That's almost a decade away from a quarter of a century. They would love to do that. But the thing is, will they be able to? And I think, like I said, I think by now we should realize we shouldn't count TNA out just yet. TNA is the kind of company that will find a way to stay alive, find a way to financially make things happen. And you got to think, and you got to put this into consideration as well. They have Cody coming in. Now, Cody's probably just coming in as a favor for TNA, just to show, hey, I'm going to go where I want to go, da-da-da. But do you think Cody would show up in TNA, would sign to be part of Bound for Glory if maybe TNA hasn't found a way or will find a way to get it going? No, he wouldn't. Do you think Brandy, his wife, would do that? No, she wouldn't. But they're doing it. They're going to be doing this. They're going to TNA. So here's the deal. Let's not count TNA out. As much as, you know, some people may not like to hear that, we should know by now not to count out this company. We should know that TNA Impact Wrestling will find a way to make this happen. Don't know how, don't know where. They'll find a way. Believe me, there's a lot of outlets they got to explore. And they got a short amount of time to do it. But you know what? I've got a feeling they're going to find a way to make it happen. You may not believe it, but I do. Because as much as a lot of us may not like what Dixie has done behind the scenes, and as many of us may not like her as an on-screen character, here's the thing. Dixie Carter will find a way to make it happen. Now, if reports that Dave Meltzer has been hearing are true, then yeah, she could be also the kind of person that's out for herself. And if Vince McMahon gives her a good enough offer to buy the company, she'll sell it. But there are some people that are hoping for another alternative. The alternative being that WWE does buy a stake in the company, but they don't buy ownership. In other words, they become like a silent partner that has a stake in the company and silently funds TNA. I'm just saying. You know, that's what a lot of people are hoping, and that might be the best solution. But then again, they'll probably find somebody. We just don't know who it's going to be. But it'll be somebody, and I've got a feeling TNA is going to... Because again, we should know by now, TNA always finds a way to prevail. They always find a way to save their ass. And they'll find a way to do it again. So don't count them out just yet. Take some of the reports you're getting with a grain of salt, because there are haters out there of TNA that don't want them to succeed and will go out and say these kind of things because they want to see them die. And why do they want to see them die? Because they want some of that TNA talent to go to WWE so they can have the dream matches. Well, you know what? They may have to wait a lot longer, because if TNA is able to bounce back, and again, we should know by now that at the last minute they always find a way to do it, then they're going to do just that. Because again, let's take a look at the history of TNA. Let's take a look at its history. When TNA Impact left Fox Sports, where did it end up? Well, for a while it was online. courtesy of the website and I think the early stages of YouTube. They were online. Then they ended up on Spike TV for several years. And then after Spike, what happened? Well, they were gone for a little bit. They were still in existence, still in business, but they were gone. They were off the air, and then they arrived on Destination America. After a year's run with after that year run with Destination America, what happened? Well, everybody thought TNA is going to go down for the count this time. Nope. TNA ended up on Pop TV. Right, they ended up on Pop TV, and that's where they are today. And every time it looks like they wouldn't find somebody, they would find somebody. They'd find a way. They found a way to go from Fox Sports to Spike. They found a way to go from Spike to Destination America. They found a way to go from Destination America to Pop TV. They always found a way to get what they needed. And didn't the deal one time say that Pop TV was willing to back them no matter what? I'm just saying. I'm just pointing that out. I'm just saying. And then as far as financial situations go, how many times have we heard them be on the verge of debt, on the verge of bankruptcy, but always find a way to bounce back? Slammiversary, we find out almost didn't happen, but they found a way to bounce back. So who's to say they're not going to do it for Bound for Glory? I'm just saying, folks, we cannot count this company out. Whether we like this company or we don't like this company, they're going to find a way to bounce back. And true, when they finally do bounce back, and let's say Billy Corgan finds a way to gain ownership, is it going to need to be rebranded? Is it going to need a rebranding, a reboot? Absolutely. Going to need all that and more. So, again, I wouldn't count Impact Wrestling out. I'm not saying that they're on the deathbed, they're on life support. Right now, I think they're just basically, I would say more like they're on welfare. They're on welfare right now. They're on basically like what people like I get once or twice a month. They're on Social Security. They're in a situation that once a month or twice a month, they get a paycheck or they get a check. Like to cash and used for the utilities, for food, for whatever else they need. That's the situation they're in right now. So, again, I wouldn't count them out. I'm not going to count them out. I'm not going to say that they're down for the count. No. I'm going to basically look at it this way. It's just another obstacle that another hurdle, another major obstacle that they have to overcome. And knowing this company's history, they will find a way to do so. They will. So, again, I'm not counting Impact Wrestling out, TNA out, as much as I may not watch them as much. But you know what? I'll say this. If TNA is able to stay afloat, but financially they can't do Bound for Glory or the tapings, expect them to make some kind of announcement, maybe stating that Bound for Glory got moved to maybe November, somewhere in November, maybe not Survivor Series night, but maybe the week before. Expect a notification or some kind of video or something saying that, you know, because of this, Bound for Glory has been moved to November along with tapings and da-da-da. That way it gives them maybe at least a month to work things out. Expect something like that if there's any kind of announcement. So, with that said, folks, again, I'm not counting TNA out, and neither should you. So, that's all I'm going to say. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like, and I'll talk to y'all later.